And now scientists have made some incredible new discoveries about the planet Uranus. They found out exactly how the planet's magnetic field works, revealing that Uranus opens and closes to let out solar wind.
Who do you think has a nicer set of jugs, Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris?
Good question.
I'll go with the white chick.
Do you go with the white titties? Why is it that you take the white gazumbas over the black titties?
Her ideology is not breast-like.
I actually thought I entered a time warp and went back 100 years because I could not believe somebody was asking this question.
What question?
Yeah, you said, who's got the nicer titties, Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris?
What did you think on the answer to that question?
I don't have an answer to that question.
You had to pick between the two sets of gazumbas.
By the question.
I know that mental illness can come in pairs.
Of titties or?
Phenomena.
What were you saying about a pair?
Like that you guys are paired together in this absurd...
I'm an anti-porn activist, as a matter of fact, but you're not going to get an interview from me about the subject because I want...
What's your favorite anti-porn? Is it people's ants?
Your mother would be very ashamed you're doing this kind of work.
Is it? It is! The mega bitch!
And 58% of Americans in this poll say that Joe Biden's policies have actually worsened economic conditions in the country.
Our economy has made strong gains since I came to office.
The new data shows Americans are digging themselves deeper into credit card debt, which is now hitting an all-time high.
For the first time ever, the total credit card debt across the U.S. has topped $1 trillion. That's a $154 billion spike from this time last year, and the largest increase in more than 2 decades.
Well, that's Bidenomics in action.
What would you say you do here?
Damn thing. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time. Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time. Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. English motherfucker, do you speak it? Say what again? English motherfucker, do you speak it? Say what again? This is a tasty burger. Whopper, whopper, whopper. What? English motherfucker, do you speak it? I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do
available.
and homelessness and all that. And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I'm kind of retarded.
They had this third GOP debate on Wednesday, and I had forgotten it was even happening. I woke up on Thursday and started seeing the clips, and it seemed like all the regular people were saying that Ramaswamy was running circles around them fool. But then you started seeing all these press reports coming out saying that, ooh, Nikki Haley really shined.
Nope.
And of course, the first clip that was going around that everybody seemed to watch was this one.
The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right,
In
Mr.
which case, we've got 2 of them on stage tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you.
That definitely does seem to be the highlight of the night. He got in a really good jab there with DeSantis too, saying, well, we got 2 of them on stage. And Haley tried to have her little comeback with, they're actually 5-inch heels.
First like to say they're 5-inch heels, and I don't wear them unless you can run in them.
And then she tweets out this retarded shit. Vivek, I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition. First of all, when you think of a good comeback even 10 minutes too late, it's too late. The moment has already passed. And secondly, what the fuck does that even mean? But look how NBC News reported this.
You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
Oh, you see, they just had to cut that little part where he mentioned Nikki Haley starting her own defense contracting company and being on the board of Boeing. For some reason, there just wasn't enough time to include that bit. But then I started looking at more, and right from the very beginning, he came out in his little opening statement and attacked Kristen Welker for pushing the fucking Russia collusion hoax for 2 years, and all the way until the very end when he said that shit about how they need to stop pretending like Biden's actually the candidate. He's like, well, is it gonna be Gavin Newsom or is it gonna be Big Mike? Well, he said Michelle, but he's like, they need to stop pretending like Biden is the candidate and tell us who the candidate is so we can actually have a real debate. Other than that, though, it was just a contest to see who could talk the toughest and be the most war hawkish about China and Russia and now Israel.
2 hours for a serious debate on the issues that matter most.
We have anti-Semitism all over our college campuses.
We will stand with Israel
To support Israel with whatever they need, whenever they need it. It is not that Israel needs America. America needs Israel.
The founding vision of Israel is
America is here, no matter what it is you need at any time, to preserve the state of Israel.
With a question from Matthew Brooks, the CEO of the Republican Jewish Coalition.
Jewish students across the country are threatened. Surge of anti-Semitism across this country. Anti-Semitism.
Any campus that allows for anti-Semitism, you should lose your federal funding today. I would deport you.
No, it's the anti-Semitism that's spiraling out of control.
Jewish students and synagogues.
Anti-Semitism is just as awful as racism. The Jewish people
Providing Israel with the $14 billion that they need, we are 100% undeniably standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel.
When we make sure that we have the backs of our friends, whether it's in Israel.
Anti-Semitic, horrible stuff. Making sure that Israel and that Israel situation, Israel must be defended.
On behalf of the Republican National Committee and all of us at NBC News, good night, everyone from Miami.
So yeah, in the end, I'm kinda glad I missed watching it live. And there was also the story of the 77-year-old dual U.S. and Panamanian citizen who shot dead a couple of what the media portrayed as eco-protesters. They made it seem like these were those Just Stop Oil or Extinction Rebellion douchebags. So of course everybody seized on the story, and you had people on the right memeing the shit out of it, and treating this guy like he was the character from Falling Down.
Pardon me, but that's bullshit.
And I started seeing people point out some interesting facts, like the fact that these weren't protesters of using fossil fuels. They were protesting a contract approved by the Panamanian government which allowed a Canadian mining company to continue operating the country's largest pit copper mine, something they claimed was fucking up everything, causing environmental damage and displacing the people that lived in the area, and yada yada yada, and also saying that it was government corruption that led to this contract. And this Kenneth Darlington guy, they just paint him as a retired lawyer and professor. But then you find out, oh, well, he also worked as a consultant for a lot of multinational corporations and governments, specializing in international law and arbitration. And a lot of people are claiming that he was involved with what these people were protesting. I just wanted to point that out real quick, because doesn't it always seem like the stories that on the surface don't seem to make a whole lot of sense? It's because you just don't understand all the ins and outs and what have yous.
Think about it.
Well, it's been just over 3 weeks since we got our new Speaker of the House. His first order of business was to say, oh, you know, we need to get aid to Israel, which then they approved $14 billion to go to Israel, but said, yeah, but we're also going to take that from the IRS's budget, which the IRS's budget is $14 billion. Of course, last year they added roughly $80 billion to the IRS's budget under the Inflation Reduction Act, so this would be coming out of there. So obviously this wasn't something the Senate was going to pass, and even if it did, the president was going to veto it. But still, I thought it was pretty funny. Now, just over 2 weeks ago, right after he got this position, I said, well, we're gonna have to wait and see what he actually does. But personally, I don't have a whole lot of fucking patience right now. Take a look at this video from well over a year ago.
On the website of DHS, it describes the mission. It says the Department of Homeland Security secures the nation's air, land, and sea borders to prevent illegal activity and is focused on securing our borders and keeping our communities safe. Sir, you're the 7th Secretary of Homeland Security in charge of the 3rd largest federal department in the United States and the largest immigration system in the world. You are given immense power and an absolutely critical responsibility. Of all of our federal agencies, sir, I think yours is the one that has the smallest margin of error. Because if the Secretary of Homeland Security is unable or unwilling to give these answers, to perform his duties and accomplish his mission, crime surges, chaos ensues, and innocent people die. And Mr. Mayorkas, that is exactly what is happening on your watch. All of us have been down to the border. We've seen this with our own eyes, and we are outraged. And so are our constituents and all law-abiding citizens in this country. They're outraged because of your deliberate and defiant policies. These are the documented facts. We have a literal invasion of lawless masses flooding over our border from more than 160 countries. The safety and security of the American people are being directly threatened, and innocent children, sir, are being abducted, assaulted, raped, and murdered by human traffickers. Countless numbers of known terrorists and vicious gang members are clearly coming across our border and making their way into our communities all over the country. The precious treasure of American taxpayers is being used to incentivize and reward all this because illegals are given food, clothing, health care, cell phones, welfare benefits, and we also, the taxpayers, pay for ghost flights and bus tickets so they can send them around and secretly transfer these folks into all of our communities across the country. It is your policies, and because of them, that our entire country is becoming a crime scene. And we are dealing with a humanitarian disaster that would have been unimaginable just 3 or 4 years ago. Because of your policies, the drug cartels are making billions of dollars and building their empires, and they are drowning our streets in fentanyl and other deadly substances, and that has made drug overdoses, as you know now, the #1 cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. Our brave Border Patrol and law enforcement agencies and officers are completely overwhelmed, and they are personally endangered. And the rule of law is being trampled underfoot. And the stability and the very sovereignty of our nation is being threatened like never before. I have a long list of questions I was anxious to ask you today, but I've been watching you. You know, you've been on Capitol Hill for 3 days now. You've been in 3 committees. You have an extraordinary talent, I think, for evading questions, and you've provided answers that are not accurate, and that's documented. You're insulting the intelligence of the American people, and you're subjecting them to extraordinary danger. This is not a game. It's been detailed over and over this week, and here again today. You have presided over the greatest immigration catastrophe in American history, and it's an objective truth that you have helped design and implement this system. You took your oath of office in February last year, and by the end of the first year, ICE recorded the highest number of border crossings and the lowest number of deportations in history. Fact. You have stated publicly in direct defiance of our laws that, quote, being here illegally by itself is not enough to be removed, unquote. If DHS does not deport illegals, that is, apprehend and quickly remove people who cross into our country illegally, then we have no border security at all. We all know that after Title 42 is repealed, 18,000 immigrants a day are going to result coming over that border. It's going to be a total collapse of our operational control. If people are allowed to simply walk in here and live and work and collect taxpayer-funded benefits and assistance for years upon years and maybe permanently, then in a very short period of time, we'll be totally overwhelmed. We'll be crushed by the sheer numbers and the weight of illegal immigration, and there will no longer be any border, any security here, any sovereignty at all. We won't have a country. I called for your resignation in July of last year and explained then that it had already become crystal clear that you were either unable or unwilling to do your job. But as has been said here today now, based upon the facts and the evidence, we've concluded you're doing this intentionally. It is despicable. I believe these are impeachable offenses, and Mr. Secretary, my advice to you is to begin your search for a different career field very soon, because there will be an election, and the American people will let their voices be heard on this, and we will be taking the majority.
Wow, that guy sounds really good, huh? Well, I bet something would happen if only that guy were the Speaker of the House. Oh, well, wait a minute, he is the Speaker of the House. So what the fuck are we waiting for, huh? This motherfucker should have been impeached as soon as they took the House back. But at least now you've got MTG giving notice that she intends to file articles of impeachment against Mayorkas, which is in some ways the most pressing because we're talking about the point man for border security. And especially now where you've got us possibly going to war with the entire Islamic world. A lot of the voters on both sides of the aisle that didn't even give a shit a few months ago are suddenly going, hey, wait, we're just gonna let all these people come in willy-nilly from countries that we might be about to fucking bomb? And MTG also put an amendment into the transportation HUD budget saying that for being a useless piece of shit, they should reduce Pete Buttigieg's salary to $1. Which everybody basically agrees there's no way that'll even pass the Senate, but whatever. I think they should also add an amendment to name a federal park after him. This ought to do. I'm fully on board with that. But now we've also got the new Speaker of the House saying behind closed doors in meetings with Republicans that there's currently insufficient evidence to begin formal impeachment proceedings against Biden.
Bullshit.
And at the same time, over in the Senate, you got Marsha Blackburn announcing in the Senate Judiciary Committee that she's filing for subpoenas of Epstein's flight logs. More than 4 years after he committed suicide.
Allegedly!
So I have very low expectations that that'll result in anything meaningful. It's more likely that we'll end up having a situation like what just happened out in LA. Last week, there was 4 current or former LA County Sheriff's officials that committed suicide in a 24-hour period.
Allegedly!
Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. Kinda seems like they're just trying to buy time, just running around in circles until this war kicks off in earnest, because once that happens, a lot of this shit's probably gonna go right on the back burner. A lot of people don't seem to realize just how even more dystopian shit can get if we're in a real full-fledged world war. During the Gulf Wars or the Vietnam War, yeah, there was a lot of propaganda put out. But the shit wasn't like World War II where they were rounding up fucking Japanese people and putting them in concentration camps. In the First and Second World Wars, shit got really crazy as far as freedom of speech, the ability to just basically question your government. A whole lot of the freedoms that we still like to pretend we have go right out the window in the name of national security. You remember that whole thing about you can't shout fire in a crowded theater? How many people realize that's from a free speech case involving somebody who was protesting the draft in World War I? And it was just a dictum, something that Oliver Wendell Holmes said in the opinion. A completely non-binding statement, but just something that everybody's picked up on since to go, oh, well, free speech does have its limits. Of course, that case was partially overturned in 1969, but my point is, you weren't even allowed to protest the draft in World War I. Another fucking war they lied us into, by the way. And now we got both wings of the Uniparty calling for us to go to war with Iran. We canceled the Marine Ball, and the new Army commercial has nothing but white males in it. So where do you think this is going? And now for this week's Surviving the Shitstorm Pro Tip. I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of a bug-out bag, and a lot of you probably have actually put something together. But how many are familiar with its lesser-known counterpart, the get-home bag? See, maybe you'll wake up one morning and the power won't be on, the internet won't work, and you'll have no cell service. You may not realize it at first, but it ain't coming back. Well, that's a shitty enough situation, but what if it happens in the middle of the workday and you're, say, 30 miles from home, and all of a sudden EMP zaps the power grid nationwide? Or maybe one of these solar flares that the scientific community keeps throwing out there and hinting at. Your vehicle isn't working anymore, so now your only option is to hoof it back home. This is what the get-home bag is for. And the needs for as far as what goes in this bag are going to vary based on how far it is you work or go to school or whatever it is you do when you leave your house. The different distances are going to make a difference in how much you need to pack. There's differences in climate, whether you're talking about city or rural. But there are some things that should be universal. First of all, pick a bag that's unassuming. You want something that's not going to draw attention. You can get those neat military-style tactical-like bag. They're great and everything, but you don't want to look like somebody who's worth robbing. And secondly, just in case somebody tries to rob you anyway, you're definitely going to want to have something in there to defend yourself with, as well as plenty of extra ammo, and a knife for a backup. Obviously, you're going to want to have food and water in there, the amounts of which are going to depend on how far it is you're likely to have to travel to get back home. The food should be something like energy bars or beef jerky, something that you can tear open and eat right out of the package, and it'll put some calories in your belly and help you to just keep on moving. And also a basic first aid kit, preferably something with a tourniquet in there just in case. And past that, it's really up to you. Best way to do this, close your eyes and really think about what it would be like if this were to go down. In your particular area of operation, what are you most likely to need to be able to make it from wherever you go to back home? Terrain and weather conditions. And if there's anything that you think that I've overlooked that would be important to have in such a bag, drop it down in the comments. But just remember, this is not a bug-out bag. This is just a get-home bag. This is meant to be lean and mean so you can move as fast as possible. Well, once you get your get-home bag put together, throw it in the trunk of your car and then don't worry about it. And if the time ever arises where it comes in handy, you're gonna be really fucking happy that you did this. Sluncha.
In this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Come on. Come on. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. So say good night, so say good night, so say good night to the bad guy. I told you, don't fuck with me. 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 You stupid fuck. Look at you now. Look at you now.
please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this video, or leaving a comment. Because every time you do nothing, Vladimir Putin will shoot another puppy.